Hello Professor, this is Sonam. Today I would be demoing the conversation handler project. So basically this project is divided into two parts, the front end and the back end. I have implemented the front end using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the back end using the back end, which consists of the 10 APIs and the conversation handler that is implemented in Java. So to begin with, the user enters the name and any API number from the drop-down list onto the keyboard. These two parameters are stored onto these two parameters are saved in the JavaScript code, and we call that particular API. So now two things will happen at this point. We call an API, and that API returns its response either in JSON or in XML, and at the same time it even calls the conversation handler. Now the job of the conversation handler is basically to tell you which API would be executed next. So coming to the demo of this project, just a minute. Let me first demo the APIs. So if we go here, I have already started the server, and I'm invoking one API. So this output is a JSON response because the name starts with A, and you get the date and time, the name, and this third parameter called path. I'm not displaying the path on the UI, but this path basically means the next API that would be implemented. And also if we write a name here, this would be an XML response. Now coming to the code, coming to the demo of this project, this is how the dashboard looks. Let me open it on Chrome. Yeah. Okay, so I have implemented this particular coordination protocol, and the file is a text file. So basically the conversation handler will read this file, and this file means that if the input API is 5 and its output response is XML, the next API to be implemented would be API 7, and API 8 and 9 are the terminal states. That's why they do not take you anywhere, null. So coming to the demo of this project, let us start with S2, and I write one name here. This is the JSON response, name and date and time, and I have also console logged the response. This shows that the path is 6, means the next API to be implemented is 6, and this even tallies with the diagram. So if you run API 6, this is the object that is returned. The next API would be 9, and 9 is the terminal API. So that's why it returns. It does not return any path, and you cannot go anywhere from here. It gives you an error message, and as well as it does not return any object. Now to implement, I'm quickly showing. Okay, just a minute. Okay, I'm quickly showing that if I write a name here, so this is the API that runs, and the next API is 3, but if you click on any other path, I mean you do not get any object returned. So I mean the API 7 or any other API is invalid basically. Coming to the code of this project, the 10 APIs, I have implemented them in 10 separate Java classes. This is how the classes look. This is a regular expression that takes the name, and it implements a JSON response because the name starts from A to M. And similarly, this method This method has a regular expression for N to Z, and it will output an XML response. Now, coming to the conversation handler, the conversation handler consists of three different classes: input, output, and mapper class. So basically, you run one API, and that API calls these further classes of the conversation handler. So the input and output class, the input class will have these two things: the input API, its type, and the output class object will have these two things, the output API, and these two are mapped together using a mapper class in Java. So this mapper class, it basically reads the transitions.txt file, it stores them into a string, it splits that string, and it saves it basically creates objects of input and output, and then we use a hash map data structure. This hash map data structure maps all the outputs to the, it maps the outputs to the given input basically. So yeah, so that's it from my side. This is how the conversation handler works. Thank you so much.